All right, week 10, we're going to talk about, again, real and continue discussion on intellectual property a little bit, but on real property, understand the difference between a possessory and non-possessory interest to land. Possessory is like you own it, fee simple, life estate, things like that. Non-possessory, those are easements, licenses, things like that. You don't have a possessory interest in the land. So important to understand what easements are. Very common with real property for utilities, things like that. A fixture is an interesting hybrid where a fixture is something that's affixed to the real property in such a way that to remove it would cause a substantial harm to the property, and it's assumed to go with the property if you buy it. Now, a fixture at one point in time was personal property until it's permanently affixed to the real property. Different types of ownership might be of great importance to folks, especially with in the context of transferring interests in land. Joint ownership of property, that's where you have one or more people own the real estate, and if one of them dies, that interest then goes to the surviving joint tenants. That's a joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Tenancy in common is a little bit different, where if you die and you're a joint tenant, you can leave your interest to your family and to your heirs. Very common means to transfer property and avoid probate in of an estate. Adverse possession, this is kind of a bizarre concept where if somebody squats on your land or uses your land for a necessary period of time, normally it's like 10 years, they can claim ownership. So if you have a boundary dispute and haven't surveyed your land and your neighbor's been using your land for that period of time, possibility that could be adverse possession, you could lose it. There are a number of conditions, though. It's not as easy as it would seem to be, but it's kind of an odd concept. Eminent domain, this is essentially where the government just takes your property. They have to pay you just compensation for it. Think of a highway, hospital, things like that, but it's been abused by government to take property and then turn it over to private developers if they think the private developer can provide more tax dollars to the government entity. So it's a very controversial concept and something you should know. In this context, we talk about insurable interest. This goes to our discussion we're going to have on insurance law. For someone to insure property, whether it's personal or real, they have to have an interest in the property. And so make sure you understand what an insurable interest is.